Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. On the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early in the morning, while it was still dark, and saw the stone removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and told them, "They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and we don't know where they put him." Mary stayed outside the tomb, weeping. And as she wept, she bent over into the tomb and saw two angels in white sitting there, one at the head and one at the feet, where the body of Jesus had been. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus there, but did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" She thought it was the gardener, and said to him, "Sir, if you carried him away, tell me where you laid him, and I will take him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Stop holding on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and tell them, I am going to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and then reported what he told her. The Gospel of the Lord. Mary Magdalene is, you could say, the proto-apostle. She also has a title called the Apostle of the Apostles, because she announced the good news to the apostles before they were able to announce it themselves. And one of the beautiful things that you see here, you could see the beauty of her relationship with Jesus in just the simple things she says. She calls Jesus my Lord. It's not an idea of possession, but it's an expression of deep union, a deep, intimate union. And so as the proto-apostle, Mary Magdalene stands for all of us about what discipleship should be. And it starts with this desire for a union with Jesus. And we see that Christ, she's known to have been exorcised by Jesus. Christ casts 7 demons out of her. And if we're going to be disciples, we've got to start by getting a house cleaning of our own and actually continuing to keep that going. And so the sacrament of reconciliation becomes vital for anyone who's going to call themselves Christian. And at the same time, this woman, possessed by 7 demons, one would think Jesus would have nothing to do with her. But the words of the Gospel of John ring so true here. "No one who comes to me will I reject." Mary Magdalene ministers to Jesus personally. She is attending him and helping to care for his needs with other women in his Galilean ministry. It expresses a devotion that should be a hallmark of anyone who wants to call themselves a disciple of Jesus Christ. And I would make the distinction here parenthetically that there's a difference between someone who follows Jesus and one who is a disciple. Followers are observers and they're interested, but not really committed. A disciple wants to get on the road with Jesus and walk in his footsteps. And so prayer and a life of prayer and striving to have a life of prayer becomes part of the devotion of ministering to Jesus, where we pray not for personal consolation, but we pray to go to Jesus and give him consolation by the glory and praise we give God. And if you can imagine, remember, God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. He loves us. And there's nothing that pleases him more than the ones he loves who come to him and express love. In other words, your prayer life gives great consolation to the heart of Christ. You're consoling his sacred heart with your own prayers. Even if you're filled with distracted prayer and you're struggling in prayer, you're praying and you're showing forth a desire that pleases him. He is consoled by our attention to him in a world where atheism seems to be metastasizing. She remains with him. She's one of the ones who remains with him at the cross. And this is where we participate in the Mass. It's at the Mass where the holy sacrifice of Christ crucified takes place here at the altar. And every Mass we attend is our union with Christ as a disciple, with Mary Magdalene at the cross, standing, seated, and kneeling in vigil with the Lord as he is offered up for the sake of our salvation and then presented to us as risen. She visits the tomb. She visits this place where it seems like there's death. It's the place of a prayer life that almost every disciple must walk through. It's the desolation that hits us sometimes in prayer. It's the aridity of prayer without consolation. It's when Christ feels like he's very far away and not hearing us. And yet Jesus at the tomb appears to Mary and calls her by name. It's the desire of Christ that his disciples be called by name, called out of desolation, called out of the aridity of prayer, called to be a disciple, and called by name to stand in judgment. Yes, we will all have to be judged. But what a delight to be called by name at judgment when you stand as a pleasing offering to God. He who conquers shall be clothed with a white garment, the book of Revelation tells us, and I will confess their name before my Father. Would you not like to have such a sweet judgment? And this is why we remain disciples of Christ, to be disposed in such a way that we will indeed be called by name, so that judgment does not necessarily have to be a horror, but it could be a great consolation. She is the apostle of apostles. She's the forerunner in being commissioned to announce the good news of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And now with Mary Magdalene and her intercessions for us, you too must announce the good news. We say it at the end of Mass, go and glorify the Lord by your life. And so go and announce the gospel of the Lord.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit, alleluia.